And we're live.
What's up? What's up, my beautiful, beautiful people? How are y'all doing? I am so glad to be back with you. I am still alive. I am marking myself officially safe, Soder, from the coronavirus. So I went to a Chinese restaurant and I did not contract the deadly disease, at least not so far. So far, so good.
Oh, good.
So
did you order the bat soup?
I did. Oh man, I'm a huge proponent of bat soup. So yeah, any black meat is okay by me. So
black meat.
You prefer black meat?
I prefer dark meat personally. It's just better for you. So and you should definitely stick to a dark meat diet. Since I hear you are working on the path to more healthy lifestyle, Soder. So yeah, you need to have more fats in your diet. So, and that comes with the dark meat. So
you know, Q, I've never had black meat before, but I do like dark meat.
So it's going to be one of those streams, huh?
No, it's not. It's not going to be one of those streams at all. Yeah.
You shouldn't have had that gin and juice.
I just realized that might sound really bad, I guess.
You're racist.
No, not just that.
All right, we're boomering it up already as it stands. But hey, you sound extremely.
We're already late and gay.
You sound extremely progressive, though, so that's okay. At least there's some progressiveness going on. Yeah, but it's going to be a fantastic show. We're having some boomer issues with our guest. He is currently trying to get in. I'm excited to introduce him to you. He goes by the name of Kyle. Not his real name, obviously, but, of course, we have to protect him from those of you who might choose to do him harm. So especially those of you that are still
the Democratic Plantation.
Yeah, I mean, when people escape the plantation, obviously, this underground railroad show that we run, we want to protect the innocent, and we'll protect the guilty too. I mean, we just want to make the police's job just as hard as possible. So that's just who we are. That's what we do, right, Soder?
Yes, Absolutely. They need to work harder, not smarter.
Well, I mean. Anyway, I'm going to leave that alone. But yeah, so we were actually just talking. So what do you think about this as a woman, lady Soder or Diet Soder? What do you think about the president hopeful, the vice president comments about women or about a specific? Well, whenever Trump does it, any ill sayings that he makes towards one woman is actually always attributed to all women. So clearly, the latest headline says that Joe Biden calls women or a woman a lying dog face pony soldier at his campaign event. So what do you feel about being called a lying dog face pony soldier, Lady Soder?
I think that would be, he said it so nicely. His tone of voice was so nice, but that would be one of those incidents where I would think about that all day long later, and I would be so pissed off. Like, what? Why is he calling me a dog face? What does pony mean?
Pony soldier. Yeah, I mean, so would you be able to vote for a guy like that?
No, not just because of that particular moment, but just he's all over the place.
He's just a confused mess.
I don't agree with his policies in the first place, but yeah, he's saying all kinds of nonsense. He never knows what state he's in. He's just
he's an interesting character. He's an interesting cat.
I don't think he's seriously running. I think he's trying to he's running just to say, hey, you can't investigate us, because that's politically motivated.
Which is interesting to me, because of course my biggest argument was that anyone who was currently in the Senate who was running as for the presidency should have had to recuse themselves from the vote, from the Senate vote. I couldn't understand how.
Yeah, they didn't.
Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't, because obviously we have a two-tier justice system. But
there's one standard for the right, those on the right, and there's another standard for those on the left.
You know it, because you know good and dang well if one of Trump's kids had taken a multi-million-dollar position for no one's talking about the fact that Hunter Biden is probably one of the most despicable human beings that ever walked the planet. I mean, genuinely. So the guy gets kicked out of the Navy, right? For crack usage, and buying crack over in Skid Row over in South Central LA. He's got a baby mama that he does not support his baby. So, you know, that's an awful human being in and of itself. He's making millions of dollars but not paying child support. And then he's sleeping with his brother's his deceased brother's wife months after his brother passes away. I mean, that's just gross, right? I mean, I know in biblical times, Soder, it was customary for the next brother to marry the new widow, his brother's widow, in order to ensure that they were taken care of. But that's just gross, isn't it? Yeah, go ahead and answer.
It's a very complicated thing.
How is it complicated? How is it complicated?
Like, I know some people
that you would marry.
No, that a brother and sister married a brother and sister.
Okay.
So that could be kind of weird.
No. Okay, so a brother and sister married a sister and brother.
I watched that movie. What was it, 7 Brides for 7 Brothers?
I suppose that might be a good example of how things could get weird.
Well,
that's a little different, though.
Wait, no, that is different.
This is marrying your.
Yeah. This would be
your.
Yeah.
Siblings.
But I'm sure that would be frowned upon anyway.
Yeah, and everything's frowned upon. But I mean, okay. So culturally speaking,
in the Baptist church,
it's culturally speaking, in today's society, right? Sleeping with your dead brother's wife, months after your brother passes away, is taboo. I mean, come on, man. There's certain things. There's not anything sacred anymore. Come on now. But this is the guy who
seem to be like there is.
Well, I mean, I would like there to be. I mean, it should be. I think most of America would agree that certain things should be. But of course, let America decide, right? Tell the story. Journalists, do your damn job. Tell the story and let people decide. If it's not a big story, it won't continue to go on. But I think if most of America were to hear exactly what this guy has done, and then this is the guy that you choose to give a multi-million-dollar position to on a board for a Ukrainian oil company that had no previous or prior experience to fall back on or to even to reference. I mean, so what do you put on your application for this job? Dishonorable discharge from the United States Navy for smoking crack. Yeah, that's gonna work. I mean, I guarantee you, if I put down smoking crack as my occupation or my previous occupation on my job application, I'm probably not getting that job. Soder, I mean, I think even you being the whiz kid that you are in all things technical, in all things IT, yeah, I don't think that you would get the job if you put that down in your application. Maybe you could. You have a winning complexion, so.
Well, I also am not. I'm not the son of a president or vice president, I should say.
So you think that it was actually his dad's position that got him the job?
Oh no! It was because he smoked
was.
crack and was dishonorably discharged. They knew where his skeletons were and they could work around them.
You said it is what?
Well, Hunter Biden, he had an interview, wasn't it? I think just within the last few months. I don't remember who he was being interviewed by, but it was one of the mainstream media, corporations or whatever. But he said, or maybe this was years ago, to be honest. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just all over the place with Hunter Biden stuff. But he admitted he wouldn't have gotten that job if it wasn't for his father being the vice president.
Huh. Well,
he had no other qualifications.
I'm not surprising to me that wasn't made more public. Senior Meatball, which of Nick's fantastic habits are you accusing me of copying? I mean, I eat, I sleep, I drink. I think I copy a lot of his habits, but I'm not sure which one you being late and no, not the gay part, but late. But I'm not late. Technically, the show doesn't start till I show up, so technically I'm not late. And there is a such thing. It is scientifically proven there is a such thing as CPT, and so this show does run off of CPT. So as long as we're within 15 minutes, we are on time.
What does CBT stand for?
CPT. It's Colored People Time.
Colored People Time.
Colored People Time. Yeah, use it correctly. Kyle, are you there? Kyle, can you hear us?
I'm finally in there. It was the Google Chrome.
Okay, all right. Google Chrome. You're finally in there.
Yes, I can.
All right, fantastic.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Yep. So, can you confirm that Colored People Time is actually a real thing?
Yeah. I try my hardest to be prompt as possible, though. Like, for real, I had a white sales manager, and this is what he told me. He was like, bro, you got to account for all of the shit that can go wrong. And that's what we don't account for. Like, all we think about is one thing, which is it takes me 10 minutes from here to get from here to there on a good day. We never account for all of that extra bullshit that's going to happen in the morning, like an accident, getting pulled over. So, like, because of that, I do work on it. But like some days I don't even give
wait.
on CPT.
Are you saying you don't account for getting pulled over? And that's not part of the normal day?
I don't account for that. No, so this is the thing. You don't account for it when you're running late. You're running late. You think if I speed just a little bit, I'll be able to pull this off. But you don't account for the consequences of actually getting pulled over. That getting pulled over is going to actually make you an hour and a half late versus 10 minutes late.
All right. So what you're saying
it's really
is
about being conscious.
You should leave 2 hours early so you could speed and get pulled over.
No, I'm saying
I thought you guys got pulled over all the time anyway. So isn't that? I'm surprised that's not part of your plans.
At one point in time, I did. At one point in time, I was an ignorant driver. I just used to do stupid shit. Like speeding and shit. I think my last speeding ticket made me losing my license and shit. And I was going to my job at Billion, and I was running late to the fairgrounds. These motherfuckers keep tally marks of you going to the fairgrounds. Like the fairgrounds is like a big thing for them. That's like going to what they call them things in high school where you meet in the auditorium and shit. Not a pep rally. Yeah, one of them assembly things. Like they have a whole big meeting. They damn near pray before you start selling cars at Billion at a fairground meeting. Now I'm telling you, it's crazy. But so you just got to account for simple shit. Like leave 30 minutes early if it takes you 15 minutes to get to work. That should account for if you stay off for 26 in Cleveland. Just being conscious of that. That's how you deter from being on CPT all the time.
Well, but he has confirmed that it is a real thing. So, and it's usually a failure to plan properly. So, but Kyle, welcome to the show. Welcome to Out of the Darkness, man. You and I have been conversating for a while now. Really impressed by this guy. Solely because, he's a free thinker. We don't agree on everything, but we agree on a lot of things. And it seems like lately we agree on more and more. and of course, with everything going on in society right now, I really wanted to get you on the show and to visit a little bit. So, thank you for
Okay.
taking the time out to visit with us. So, let me ask you first, what are you sipping on?
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna let you slide with that one.
Why?
All right, that's
Man,
okay.
Jameson got too much of a bite. I like J-Mo, but it's like, the Hennessy bottle expensive, the Dose bottle really expensive. You could go into a gas station in South Dakota and pick one of these up. I think this was like $12.99. So JD it was. I wanted something a little bit smoother than Jameson tonight.
Something a little smoother and something that get you there. That's okay. So let me ask. So where are you from originally? For those people that are, because we are live, by the way. So there are
Yeah.
people in the chat.
Oh.
So so where are you from originally?
Leesburg, Florida. Born there, Central Florida, just bounced around a lot.
Okay. All right. So Lee's. So and now you are currently in South Dakota. What the heck brought you all the way from Leesburg to South Dakota?
Man, you want to get out of there. I mean, I remember growing up, they used to always tell us, get out of Leesburg, don't come back. And, around the age of like 20, 21, it's like I was seeing a lot of my friends, including myself, we were staying with our grandparents, our parents, still. And it's like, man, fuck it. So I wanted to get as far as possible where I'll be like solely sufficient on myself. And I went to STI, which they had a dorm, so that would take care of the housing situation. The school was cheap, so financial aid will cover most of it. You know what I'm saying? I put myself in a position where I can at least have a roof over my head and try to make it on my own. So from there, it's just like, I just didn't want to be down there. A lot of my friends, they working at UPS, drivers and shit like that. And it's cool, great money. But it's like, man, you can't change shit with UPS money. You really can't. And it all boils down to that almighty dollar at the end of the day. So I've always put myself in a position where I can at least control my income to some extent. Controlling your income comes with controlling your mind as well. So sometimes I've lost good money just because I've allowed situations to affect me instead of, taking them to my own hands. But yeah, fair. I just moved out here and I love it out here,
So how long how long have you been in the Midwest now?
10 years, a whole decade now. 2010, I made it a whole decade and do not plan on looking back to Florida. I want to help Florida, especially where I'm from. But man, the cost of living out here is so fucking cheap. Lord, why would you go down there and why would you put that financial burden on yourself? Why?
To get out of the cold.
man, hey, this is what I always say. You can always put on more clothes, but you can't take off everything. You know what I mean? So in Florida, it's like
I've been down there, but it'll get you in trouble.
Exactly. So at that point, bundle up.
Bundle up. So all right, man. So we've been visiting a lot. And obviously you made the move up here. I see some of your conversations back and forth between some of the people that you grew up with, some of the people from your past. They don't necessarily agree with some of your viewpoints, man. You've definitely made a transition. You don't think the same way you did 10 years ago.
I don't.
So, I mean, so let me ask you that, man. So what has been you even come out here recently, supporting the president of the United States, which is, gasp, I can't believe you would do something like that. So what is, and I'm joking, by the way, you know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So what changed? What changed in your mindset from being a kid in Florida, right? And coming to the Midwest so what changed in your mindset to bring you to the place you are today? Walk me through that transition.
Man, I guess it was having a kid. It all started with having a kid. My first child, Kelly, I met her mom when I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch. I was just like a little, sales associate, whatever, at the local mall and shit. I was working at STI. I met her. Got pregnant after she lost her sister. I kind of got my own mixed feelings about the situation because I remember the night her sister called. We were in the bathroom in my dorm room smoking out of a Gatorade bar we made, you know. So I kind of told her, like, you can call her in the morning. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Call her in the morning. And it's like, that morning didn't come. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, she was found hanging from a tree over the island in Colombia, Providence Island. So it was definitely some, you know, me personally, I feel like there was a suspiciousness to it. Everybody know how Colombia is and whatnot, you know, and, you know, both of the mother of my children, they're both Hispanic. So there's definitely that level of that life that they say definitely can affect. And sometimes it doesn't affect you, just depending on your family and how you handle things. But needless to say, you know, I don't know if you believe in all of that universal stuff, but you lose a life, you gain a life. So she literally was, my daughter Kelly was conceived literally like a month later. And that just started a whole shit storm of shit. Like her stepdad was really controlling, like, oh, white dude from the Air Force, whatever. You know how that works, military mindset. So I can definitely respect his position. And me and him actually got into a big little argument at dinner over Obama. And I was like, man, I understand. But so it shows, like, at one point I did stand by a lot of the liberal positions that are out there right now. But having my own child and that responsibility and the progression that I had to take and the dedication and the discipline and the diligence that I had to have to just get to where I'm at now, because of her, you know, just understanding that nobody's going to fucking help you out. My auntie is now a lieutenant colonel in the fucking army. She probably clears over 6 figures now. That motherfucker won't help you with a goddamn dime. She has a nice little BMW, you know, the long 12 V engine or whatever the fuck that bit long engine is and shit. She has that shit and a Jeep Wrangler. She will not help you with a fucking dime, and if she does, she want her money back. There is definitely a contingency, and I grew up with this love based on conditions. So I'm definitely like, I definitely do have a respect for like that military lifestyle where you rewarded based on what you actually do. You know what I'm saying? Like the old JFK quote. That's not what your country do for you. That's what you do for your country. So my position is, I do for my fucking self.
So what specifically changed? I mean, you had your daughter,
it's just
Kelly.
The struggle itself. It was the struggle itself, the progression itself. It was meeting white guys that would take the time and sit there and talk to me, and actually having an open mind to understand their position on certain things. And then not only taking their position, but thinking past it, thinking about your own personal life. It's really about that self-reflection part. Are you capable of looking into the mirror and not lying to yourself? Can you honestly say that you weren't in a position where you had the same opportunity as little white Johnny and Jimmy down the street?
So tell me this, man. So what do you feel that the greatest lie is that we tell ourselves as black men? What is the greatest lie that we tell ourselves?
It's the white man's fault. Honestly, me personally, I really feel like we get caught up on this self-victimization of where we feel like we have to blame our problem on somebody that we can't solve our problem. Like, honestly, since being out here in the Midwest, like, white people are vying for an opportunity to help a brother out.
Okay.
They really are. Like, they really want to get over this whole in their own special way. They trying to give us a form of reparation that they know the government's never going to fucking give us. They'll give us a shot. They'll give us an opportunity. Honest to God, like, I got in my position to where, like, I built the resume without a degree to where I can open the door for me in a lot of places. If I had a license, I probably wouldn't be working at this position I'm going into now. It's just because I've taken the direction that's been given to me along the way. I haven't gotten butthurt when the job told me, hey, bro, you can't be coming in here smelling like marijuana all the fucking time. I take that constructive criticism for what the fuck it is and say, hey, I'm just going to smoke before I leave home for work. So by the time I get there, I don't smell like this shit. You feel me?
So now we know why you're late getting to work.
No, I work I'm on time because I know these jobs be having these restrictions and procedures where you get 6 tardies, then you're on a performance improvement plan. Trust me, been there, done that. Not trying to repeat those same mistakes over and over and over. Because, like, some of these positions I've had, I could have made some good money if I wasn't young, dumb, and, you know,
Silly. Okay. Okay. So you say the greatest lie is probably that it's somebody else's fault, whether it be the white man, whether it be government, whether it be someone else's fault.
Whatever.
So, but you yourself, you say you were an Obama supporter, even got into a argument with your somewhat father-in-law, defending him. Why do you feel that it's so hard for so many people to come out of that? Hello, hold on, real
Yeah,
quick,
I'm here.
Kyle. Kyle, why do you feel that it's so hard for people to come out of that lifestyle? Why do you feel that it's so hard for people to come to a place where they can be honest with themselves as well?
It's easy to blame somebody else. I was thinking about this the other week. It's so easy to be brutally honest with somebody else, but it's extremely difficult. Like, you have to have a extreme self-awareness. Your emotional intelligence has to be damn near above average for you to sit there and be brutally honest with yourself as you would your spouse if y'all are arguing. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to point out, like that old Bible verse, it's easy to point out the speck of dust in my eye when you got a beam in your own eye. Like, focus on that beam in your eye first, and a lot of people aren't willing to do that shit. And honestly, that's how I feel about the black demographic. Like, look at Hispanics right now. Because of their discipline and their diligence, they've surpassed us, and we've been here longer than them. Makes no fucking sense, right? But how much we reproduce makes no fucking sense. Granted, they can't come over here in droids based on that little convoy they had going on earlier, the caravan. But still, like, we reproduce like at large fucking numbers, but then that goes into a whole nother arena. If you want to go talk about feminism, if you want to go talk about Planned Parenthood, you want to go talk about abortion, it makes sense because there is a underlying level of where there is a fear of black people taking over the demographic. There is a slight fear, and I can understand that. Like, I had a coworker tell me, like, he's okay with black people getting their benefits or whatever, as long as it doesn't affect him and his family. White guy, he voted for Obama. Said he was very disappointed. Will always vote. Was gonna vote for Hillary. Probably did. I told him he's a fucking fool. I did not forget the mid-90s. I lost uncles to that shit. So, like, fuck you. Like, just because you do the nay-nay, eat some fried chicken and douse that shit in hot sauce, don't mean you earn my fucking vote. Repeal all that shit you did and let these niggas go. Why presidents, like, now y'all making Trump look good, though. For all of that bullshit they talk, like, it's just a whole flurry of bullshit.
So what was your problem with Hillary Clinton, man? So you talk about what the thing.
Do you not remember the Super Predator speech?
Refresh my memory.
No, she was on C-SPAN, and I seen a clip of the shit. She's on C-SPAN when they're trying to pass this 3-strike law because they're trying to handle the gun violence all across the nation, primarily in the California area. This bitch went up in front of Congress or whoever the fuck she went up and called black people and Hispanics super fucking predators. We're super predators, bro. Nah, fuck that. No, how many uncles, how many boys have grown up fatherless over some bullshit ass felonies through a bullshit ass justice system that they all recognize is complete bullshit when motherfuckers who are full of bullshit like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton all voted for the shit. But they don't talk about that. You know how they try to appease us? Marijuana in all 50 states. Who gives a fuck? It's going to get there regardless. Who cares? Like, honestly, don't fuck up somebody's money. Like, you might be taking food out of somebody's mouth doing that shit. Like, don't do that. Like, fuck that shit. Like, whatever. Like, okay, free. All right. This is what pisses me off. You know what gets me? Elizabeth Warren punk ass. This motherfucker said the LGBTQ community deserves reparation. I say, how the blue monkey fuck did we get bypassed that fast, though? Bro, they don't value us no more. Our population is what, 13, 15% of the population right now? Our vote can't even swing right now. We can't swing shit no more. Right now, it's really the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans determining those votes. Because Puerto Ricans typically vote Democratic, Mexicans typically vote Republican. Like, it is what it is. They're conservative. They're Episcopal. they go to Catholic church. That's typically how you're supposed to vote if you are religious. This whole liberal voting for, like, it don't make no sense to me. But I'm sorry for rambling, guys. I do that sometimes.
No, you're fine, man. You're fine. So
that's what this whole show is, a long series of rambles.
So
Q's wanted me to try to cut this thing up for clips. I honestly have no idea how it's going to happen because we're talking about one thing and then somehow that leads into another. But you got to have both of them to get the context of the conversation. If you snip it up, it's just people talking about mother effers and super predators and how my wife likes mics and doesn't like cans.
That wasn't even on the. That wasn't on the show. You'll have to. Too bad we weren't.
What are you talking about? That was on the show.
No, the cans part wasn't. The dark meat was.
Oh right, dark meat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then dark meat clips. Maybe that'll be a 30-second thing.
Hey,
but...
no, get the little 30-second clips of like some funny shit being said, and it'll make somebody like, hold up, what's the context? No, get that real racist shit, like fuck Hillary Clinton. When I said that shit, yeah, get some of that shit up in there because like, well, hold up, no, I love Hillary. Yeah, then they start reading, now they get context.
So let real quick, and we got another guest that jumped in real quick, and I want to acknowledge. Are you there?
I think you're talking to me.
Yes, sir. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Please don't call me sir. I work for a living.
Well, I'm from the South, so anyone that's older than me is sir.
We say sir. I say sir to people the same age now.
I will accept that you're from the South. My ex-wife is from the South. I've lived in the South, and I was raised up north. But I am from further south than you are, brother.
That's what I hear. So for those of you, so Stephen Powell is somewhat a celebrity on our show, and so this is right. This is Stephen Powell's father.
Yes.
What was that?
Stepdad.
So what? How would you like us? How would you prefer that we address you?
You can call me Mario.
All right, Mr. Mario.
Drop the mister.
We can't do it, man. They're not blood.
My mother might be watching, and she will text me and say, "You better put a handle on that."
Well, tell your mother. I will be nice. I will try to be nice. Tell your mother that this Spanish guy, unless you can say "señor" instead of "sir," don't say.
Well, okay, it is Señor Señor Mario.
Yes.
All right. So,
where are you from? Are you from Mexico, sir?
No, sir. I am from Havana, Cuba.
Havana, Cuba. Okay.
Like I said, that's what I was saying. You guys might be Southerners, but you ain't.
Yeah, you way south.
Yes.
About 2 hours from the border.
I used to have fun when I was in the Navy because I was stationed down in Charleston, South Carolina, and these guys.
Oh, you a Navy man too?
Yes. These white guys would always give me a hard time. Well, you don't know how it is in the South. And I would just look at them and go, you ain't South. I said, you're a dumbass white boy who thinks he's from the South. And they would not know what to say or what to do because here I am. Now that I'm getting old, I'm getting pearly white. But I tan about 5 seconds in the sun and I'm tanned.
So we want to. So the whole purpose of this show, right, Mr. Mario, is I wanted to get some people in the show to talk about some people who are. My father was always very very adamant about me not referring to myself as a minority because he said that being a minority was a state of mind.
Yes.
And so he was very adamant about not referring to myself that way. But for sake of not having to get into broad discussions about minority versus non-minority, I'll use that term. And so we see the title of this show is The Underground Railroad. Okay. Because we saw a period of time where Black people from the South, slaves, were being snuck into through a series of tunnels. Unfortunately, there was a movie that was made that wasn't completely historically accurate because it showed the hard work of Harriet Tubman, and I would never disparage her name and the great work that she did. But I feel that they missed out on the Quakers and this abolitionist movement that worked very, very hard. And most of those people were white. They worked very hard because there was a great part of the country, a large part of the country that disagreed with Black people being held captive and being held as slaves. And without those people, we would not have had the revolution that we did. So this show was really put together because I wanted people to get a chance to hear about what the media is not talking about. Those of us who are supposed to be Democrats, who are supposed to vote for Democrats because Trump is a racist piece of crap. But those of us that are, what was that?
Don't mean to interrupt you, but I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you a Democrat?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm not a Democrat. And please don't ever. Please, I won't call you. I won't call you, sir. You don't ever call me a Democrat.
Okay, brother.
Well, I have a feeling that's not going to last very long, Senior Q.
Senior.
I can live with that. I appreciate knowing that you're not. Because I was going to say, if you're a Democrat, we're ending this discussion right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Democrat. But I will tick you off a little bit. I don't consider myself to be a Republican either.
Well,
I consider myself to be a conservative. But I don't consider myself to be.
I was just thinking about that today. Like I swear, I was just driving over here and I was like, man, like it's more like I was watching So Scandal. This is what kind of gave me some perspective on this. Like, I honestly believe, like when they was writing the Constitution, they knew exactly what they was doing by not equating color anywhere inside of the Constitution, in hopes that one day we would get to that point where it really is every man's inalienable right, right? So it's like, for me, it's like, I more so just believe in the Republic as it is, like the Constitution for what it stands for. Like, if I have to vote, if I am required to vote, if I really think that my vote might matter in some fucking way, I would vote conservative in probably most cases. Just because of like some of the shit that I feel like Democrats are trying to push, it is completely opposing any progress in which people say they want to attain.
So let me ask you this: will you vote for Trump this year?
You speaking to me?
Honestly, I think he'll win about. If I feel like I need to go to the polls, yes, that's who I will vote for. The man
you better go to the polls. I want to call you out.
I'm going to call him out on that one.
That's right. So this is funny. My sister says I'm not allowed to talk about politics because I don't vote. My personal opinion about the voting shit is, like, my auntie, like, this is how her view is on it. Presidents aren't elected, they're selected. And like she like, and when she says this, I'm saying it with the weight of the position that she is in the military, and just on the off chance she might have some perspective that a lot of us don't even have a chance to acquire. So when she says what she says, it's like, I think about it, I'm like, in all honesty, what will drive me to the polls is if one of these idiots start talking about policies that I feel is detrimental to the survival of me and my family.
Well, they've been talking about that for years, but real quick, because you said something really important. Yeah. Presidents are not elected, they're selected. Now, Diet Soda. I know you guys are having a conversation. Diet Soda.
Second. She just,
to be honest,
mic up.
Amongst those in America, that is a viewpoint that is held amongst a lot of demographics, whether it be black, whether it be white, whether it be Hispanic. That presidents are selected, so their vote doesn't matter. I would say that the reason why, what was that, Senor Mario?
Just the opposite.
Well, this is the thing.
Well, hold on, real quick. Hold on to that thought, real quick. I want to make sure I get this out real quick. I have ADHD in the worst way, and most of the folks in the chat know that.
So do I.
I would say that one of the reasons why Trump is being attacked in the way that he is because he was not the one that was selected. That the American people had the audacity to vote an outsider in. they had the audacity to vote for someone that was not selected. On the Republican side, Jeb Bush was the man. He was the guy that was supposed to be the president of the United States. That was their choice. And
Oh, the Republicans or
for the Republicans, yes. But Hillary Clinton was supposed to win that election. I mean, she was the
That's why she
selected
didn't
one.
do no work. Yeah.
And then that's why she didn't poll. She didn't campaign in certain areas that she should have, but she didn't because she was already making campaign promises to foreign countries that she was going to take care of them, like Ukraine, like Russia, like China. She was going to take care of them when she became president. It was already a foregone conclusion.
Now the whole fucking
so the one thing that I feel like we can learn from the Trump election is that our voting process does matter. Now the big question now is: are we going to give up the Electoral College? Are we going to go to this stupid idea of popular vote as opposed to the Electoral College that our founding fathers put in place? Now, Lady Soder, now you can probably speak to this even more deeply than we can. Do you see the fallacy of that argument that presidents being selected versus being elected?
Selected by a popular vote or elected by electoral college? Is that what you're?
What would you say to someone who honestly feels and believes that presidents are not elected but selected, that their vote does not matter? And how do you equate that to the current situation that we're in under Donald Trump?
She's giving me a very worried look.
I want your unadulterated response.
I'm not sure I'm as educated as you think I am.
So
I mean, I know I grew up knowing what the Electoral College was for and all that, but I guess
but
I wouldn't. As somebody who grew up in rural Minnesota, I'd probably say, well, our vote doesn't count. I don't know. Popular vote basically means like California and New York get to choose.
They
the
would
West
decide
Coast and the East Coast
would decide our next president. So Senor Mario.
Yes.
Okay, so now you don't have to give me your exact age, but you're from Cuba.
Yes.
Obviously the transition of power from the former president to the to Fidel Castro. What was that? 1965?
No, 1959.
1959 was the revolution, correct?
Well, you could call it a revolution.
I mean, but when did Fidel actually take office? Was it
1960? January 1st, 1960.
Okay, 1960. So what was the promise that was made? What was the promise? What would make people choose a somewhat free society? What would make people choose? Because the people chose communism, correct?
No.
Oh, really?
No, the people did not choose communism.
Okay.
The American government
intervened, right?
They backed him during the revolution.
Okay.
Then they fell back and were very quiet. And then when Castro took over, when he was in power, he wanted weapons and money from the American government. And the American government said, we will give you money, but we're not giving you weapons.
Okay.
And he got very upset.
Okay.
Now, at that point, he had already nationalized business. My grandfather lost his plantations.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Lots of people lost their businesses. My uncle, my mother's brother, was the equivalent of the attorney general, went to jail on the 1st of January at 2:00 in the morning, and he was there for 6 years.
Wow. On what
Because-
charges?
He was Batista's lawyer,
Oh wow.
and he was basically the attorney general of the country.
Hmm.
Okay, people, I'm sorry, and I hate to say this because I was raised in the United States, I went to school here, and I happen to be a history major. Americans do not know. Americans have ignored or do not want to learn or understand what actually happened. The schools don't teach it, and the stupid liberal professors definitely don't teach it. I got thrown out of college.
Don't want to teach it.
No, they don't want to teach it. I got thrown out of college for discussing it, for arguing with a history teacher that he was wrong. I bought 3 different books in from 3 different sources and showed it to him, and I got thrown out of school.
I got in trouble in college for arguing against climate change, but so I definitely understand the idea of being scolded in a public university because of your viewpoint.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that.
So then Castro accepted communism. He accepted communism because Russia turned around and said, we will give you money and we will give you the arms that the Americans don't want to give you. So then he said, okay, we're going to go with a communist. And he told the Cuban people, all right, we're communist.
So in comes the Cuban Missile Crisis, right?
Yes.
So tell me this. So obviously he had already embraced communism by nationalizing the industries, right? I mean, because
he did that before America
before Russia
rejected him.
Okay, so before Russia came in, he had already nationalized the production and nationalized many businesses, right? And means of production. So explain to me. So when you hear a Bernie Sanders, when you hear Elizabeth Warren, when you hear and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when you hear them speak, and they start to I mean, let's be very honest. The fight that we are fighting today, and I believe that Kyle would agree with this. I believe you, Senor Mario, would agree with this. The fight is not against Democrats. That's not the fight. Because when I think Democrats, I think JFK. I think of people like my grandfather who were very conservative people, but they were very labor minded, right? So, but that's not the Democrat Party of today. The Democrat Party today has been hijacked by, we say socialist because that sounds better, but I would argue that the Democrat Party today has been hijacked by communists.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
So when you hear, I mean, having lived through people who have lived that life, who've been about that, tell me, what similarities do you see between Fidel Castro coming into power and the promises made versus the promises that have been made by Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Lord have mercy. That one right there. Lord. She gonna lose her district to that black lady. I can't remember her name. That black lady's gonna take that district.
Yes,
we can only hope.
We can only hope.
Man, no, but hey, I can't remember her name, but she's an immigrant from Jamaica, I think. Came over here when she was like 5. I seen her little campaign. I don't think it's gonna be hard to unseat a couple of those that got in office. Like St. Louis Park, they're gonna put the Omar chick out. She gonna probably be gone. Like, cause they was pissed off about the whole national anthem shit and that shit being taken out of the council meetings. So I feel like St. Louis Park's gonna make a real push to turn that little area back to what it once was. That they gave them a chance. They felt bad about Trump. But that's what I'm starting to realize. I feel like a lot of white people are making like decisions as to not appear to be to come off like racist or prejudice of anyone. So they're giving people chances, like Obama, for instance, ending up disappointed. Then doubling back, they're doubling down on their bet and going with Trump. Like, despite what a lot of people say, I really feel like the media is trying to portray something that's not really fucking happening. Which is just like when we went in and we took Fidel Castro down, and that whole media propaganda bit was, it was really only a small amount of people raiding Fidel, not Castro, what's his name? What was the motherfucking dude out of
Venezuela?
Iran? No, over there in the Middle East.
Saddam?
When we took his ass, Saddam
Gaddafi?
Hussein. No, Saddam Hussein. So when Saddam Hussein we first captured his ass, they had this whole clip of how like the people was really excited. But what I later found on the video off of YouTube or some shit is, if you took the wider view from it, there weren't that many people there. They gave a close up on what was going on, which is basically kind of what they did with the caravan from the Central America area, which is, I bet you they paid a bunch of people this money, just like they do on the TV shows. They get these ideas from somewhere. You pay a bunch of people money to do some extra shit, like go to the border of Mexico and America and make up a bit fuss. Because some of those people, like the one chick that got mad about the food that was given to her, she had a nice life down there in Guatemala, I think it was. Like, they're really, like, it's all scheme. It's because that's what people are going off of. They're going off of clips from social media.
Well, see,
And they're making emotional, huh?
And that's something you don't even realize how important what you said was. The media. The media says, and most stinking Americans believe the media because they haven't been around the world or anywhere within.
They haven't even talked to anyone off of their block. Like, that's the only reason why. That's what I think the key point is. Moving to South Dakota, getting all of this culture from out here, getting like some like grassroots, like old school, what they call it, the Rust Belt or whatever y'all call this shit, the Sun Belt or whatever. Getting some of that old, because like where I'm from in Florida, bro, it's not been saturated. Democrats did their job, although it's a Republican state now. Democrats did their job by winning certain counties and just turning the shit inside the fuck out. So then moving to Minnesota. So now I understand Minnesota nice. You know, Minnesota nice is nothing but passive aggressiveness, which, in my personal opinion, is a characteristic trait of a racist now. I feel like folks like I love flat out white people. Like, where they'll just say some shit to you and they don't give a fuck if you may or may not be offended, but they look at you in hopes that you don't be offended because they feel as though they have the right to be honest with you. I feel like that's a sign of respect. Now,
so you're saying you love Trump?
Bro, I fucks with it because at least we know what the fuck he thinks. He's so fucking ignorant, he doesn't know how to censor himself. But this the best thing about it, though. He also operates in a 49-50 type way where he literally acts racist, right? But if you look at his policy and you look at the things he's done, they are not conducive with a racist.
Exactly.
Like DACA, right? My wife is a DACA student. Like, she is lazy. She don't want to do this whole green card process that you got to go back over there for like 6 months, whatever, right? So she's a DACA student. So I was freaking the fuck out. We got in many arguments over this shit. I was like, you should have fucking got this shit instead of listening to your mama. Woo, should have had your green card already. This motherfucker, 2 years fucking after she let her green card lapse, she still can renew her green card. I mean, her DACA shit. It's her last time. But what he was doing is the same thing I personally felt about the shit. And even in Don't Fuck with the Zohan or Don't Mess with the Zohan, they kind of talk about it, how if we have an issue with terrorism and you know these motherfuckers can cut their hair and look like they just came from out of Central America, like this whole caravan shit, I can understand the national security issue with that shit. Because they're coming over here with no papers. You can't document them. Their countries can't identify them. And we just supposed to let them the fuck in. 250,000 undocumented motherfucking people coming into our country. And people think we just supposed to let them in because they say it's bad over there. Hold up. My old lady people from Guanajuato, Mexico, and let me tell you, they say, her granddaddy say he cool, like the cartel, like they only fuck with you if you fuck with them type of shit. And they don't have to get fucked. Like, you don't get fucked with. Even her family over there, like, even my baby mother of Colombia, same thing. They don't mess with you unless you mess with them. Like, if you fucking with them with the money shit, you trying to make money with them, you fucking up the pack. Yes, they take that shit seriously. They'll wipe up your whole block if they know it's some bad shit going on. Like, you fucking with their paper.
So Mario,
Excuse my French, everyone. I'm sorry.
Senor Mario.
Yes.
So the whole point of this show was to dispute the liberal narrative, right? Because let's be very honest, by all mainstream media standards, I'm supposed to hate Trump. People like Kyle are supposed to really hate Trump, and people like you are supposed to spit upon him, right?
Hate Trump, yeah.
But we have three people here who are free thinking people. We are doing our own research. You know, I was speaking to a young black lady this week who is very educated, very I'll leave it at that. Very educated. And she started talking about how Trump was just absolutely racist and hated black people. And I said, really? I said, but his policies are exactly opposite. She says, like what? I said, well, like criminal justice reform. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of black people who are now back at home with their families because of Trump's policies. And I'm not a Trump apologist, so don't confuse that with this. But that's not. But what I'm trying to explain is that how our media has taken control of the narrative, right? And so I want to get back to the original question that I asked you. What are some of the similarities that you've seen between the Elizabeth Warrens of the world, the Bernie Sanders of the world, this communism light that you have seen with true communism in Cuba?
Honestly, the Americans who you mentioned, and I believe they are actually Americans. Hard to believe, but yes, they are ignorant. They are ignorant.
As fuck. Oh my God.
They have not investigated
anything for a vote.
Yes, anything for a vote. They have not investigated a single thing. You know, what's her name? The young one, the Spanish one.
Kamala Harris.
Yeah. You know, she was talking about Venezuela. We need to be like Venezuela. Well, Venezuela.
No, fuck you
Venezuela they just went bankrupt. The government
like damn.
They don't have food. The government the government military took over, and they made themselves the government. Okay,
Lord.
I've been to Venezuela. I've lived there at one point in my life. My family lived there. Okay, that's where my uncles and my cousins and my aunts. That's where they all went.
My aunt, my wife grew up off the coast of Venezuela. Okay. It wasn't always the mess that it is today. No, it was once a very wonderful place.
It was a beautiful place, and actually, I think it still is beautiful. But they're just screwed up.
Right.
So these people are making statements without having checked their facts.
Oh, okay. AOC.
Yes, AOC.
Man,
definitely
she's notorious to have a blubber mouth.
I hate to even think that she could be
that
Spanish.
She's Hispanic.
Yes. Now you said you live in Florida.
No, I'm from Florida.
Okay, you're from Florida.
Yes, sir.
I have so many family members that live in Florida, and I can't believe. Excuse my language. I can't believe these assholes believe in the Democratic Party.
But this crazy part, like the Mexicans, this is what I've noticed. The Mexicans in Florida they've always seemed like the conservative ones. Like they've always seemed like they went the conservative route, even though a lot of Republicans don't fuck with them like that. They've always been like that, I feel like. Now Puerto Ricans and Cubans and stuff, those from those little islands, DR and stuff like that. Excuse me. I'm speaking based on my generation of what I know from those places.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So go ahead, Senor.
No, I'm sorry. This is the part of me that's racist.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My father always told me. Now you got to understand that I'm better than halfway through my 60s.
Okay.
I grew up. My father told me the only good Puerto Rican is a dead Puerto Rican.
Damn.
Unless that Puerto Rican has the kind of education that my wife does, who's a PhD, a professor. Okay, and I always laugh. I didn't understand that because I didn't. Any other kind of prejudice didn't exist in my family. None.
Wow.
And to have heard that, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, Dad. So I have to laugh when he said that. But the problem is people are ignorant. They don't want to look. They don't want to open their eyes, and they don't want to look and listen.
Wow.
They don't.
To what's being said.
So I got in a lot of trouble recently for saying that Pete Buttigieg, the former mayor of what is that of South Bend, Indiana, that he would never be elected president because in order to be elected president, it is very clear that he would have to win the black vote in the Southern black vote.
They're not going to do it. No way.
And I think Kyle would agree with me. Being from I'm from the South. Southern black people will never, I repeat, will never elect a gay president. It won't happen.
Hell no. They're not gonna be able to wrap their head around that shit. Like some of the mega churches, you might be able to swing it, but like those old school hot as hell on Sunday churches, where they still got the old wooden bench churches, they're not going for that. Like they barely vote Democratic, and it's only because they feel like I don't know what happened between the whole what was it when the Little Rock shit with the school shit, when
right,
the majority of
integration.
Integration sometime between integration and now we started voting left. Because up until that point, that's when all our great grandparents, they owned their houses because they from that time.
Right.
And those houses was passed down. But at some point in time between that point and now, or not even now, let's say even just the mid to late 70s, something happened in that dynamic of our voting. Like, we know it happened, like what really happened, but it's just why was it such a drastic change in how we started voting just in that short amount of time? Like,
that's a great question. That's a great question.
I know it's little things, but like, what triggered? Like, what the freak was it that got our whole demographic to just swing our vote to the other side for nothing?
Senor Mario. So the one thing I can say about the black community and also the Hispanic community, especially being that the Hispanic community is very Catholic, overwhelmingly.
Overwhelming, yeah.
And the black community is historically religious, overwhelmingly Christian, I would say.
Yep.
They are both very conservative, extremely conservative people, whether it be pro-life, whether it be First Amendment speech, whether it be Second Amendment, very conservative people. How has the Democrat Party, as it is currently constructed, been able to get Hispanics and blacks to vote against their own self-interest for so long? I would really like to get that from you, because because Stephen just sold you out. By the way, he said you're well past your mid-60s.
I am in my mid-60s, and I'm gonna kill my son.
He just sold you out. Okay, so obviously you've seen the switch. You were around during the so-called big switch. Okay, tell me this: how has the Democrat Party been able to to get people to vote against their own morals?
I don't know. If I have often thought about this. I don't want to consider myself a Republican. I would maybe say I'm more of a liberal, but there is no liberal. There's no party that I relate to more than the Republican Party without it being liberal. Okay? So the only thing I can see that happened, knowing what I know about history and the black people, the Spanish people, the Democrats have lied so heavily that we have believed it. And that's the only reason I think we support them. Because I watched my mother become a U.S. citizen. I was a kid. I was a young kid. I became a U.S. citizen at 14. And I did not understand how my mother could vote Democrat. And I mean, I wasn't into politics. I can't stand politics. Okay? I have a wife, a very educated wife, PhD professor. Her master's degree was in poli-sci, political science, for those who don't know the short terms. I have to listen to her a lot of times just so I can find out what's going on, because I don't pay attention.
Sure.
And all I can see is the only thing I can understand is that people have believed the lies that they have been told to for so long. Because there's no reason for my mother to have been a Democrat.
No.
Though she liked Kennedy. I love Kennedy. I learned to love Kennedy. I don't see it.
But Kennedy, if Kennedy were alive today, he would be more of a Republican than a Democrat.
Yes, I'd have to agree with you. Unfortunately, I'd have to say yes. But then again, I have to side. I have to call myself something. I'm going to call myself a Republican. Okay, a Republican slanting to the liberals.
Sure.
But there's a difference. I wouldn't even consider myself a liberal if there was a liberal party, because I won't say you, because I've already heard enough of what you have to say to think that you probably think a lot like I do. There are people who think liberals are this, and this. Okay.
The Democrats have hijacked that term, because
yes.
I know a lot of people. Some of my best friends are classic liberals.
Yes.
And they are very conservative in a lot of ways, but socially liberal in the sense that they are for less government. They are for the less the government has to be involved in my daily life, the better.
The better. See, and that is something I believe in. Okay.
Right, so what is
go ahead.
What does being a liberal mean?
I would have to say a liberal, being a liberal would be each person's personal definition. To me, being a liberal is someone who, A, doesn't believe in big government. 2, doesn't like the laws passed by the government, half the laws passed by the government. 3, don't tell me how to raise me and mine, because I'm going to lose it. And my wife says my wife's sitting over here going, I'm a classical liberal.
And tell her she's next. I got to get her on the show one of these days.
Yes, definitely have to. That is someone I would rather have her on the show than me, because of her knowledge. But
yeah, I'd love to pick her brain.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what.
This is the thing. This with liberalism, like I feel like that's what created like the conservative Republican though. Because at some point in time, liberals go too far. Like just right now, the reason why Trump is going to win by landslide is because liberals are taking shit too fucking far. Bernie, like out of just sole fear, this is the problem. They don't even realize it. Out of sole fear of Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, God if Biden gets in fucking office. No tell how corrupt he actually fucking is. Like, how far are these promises really gonna fucking go? We've already seen Obama executive order a bunch of fucking shit. Like, even me personally, like, my income that I could have been making in Minnesota was cut down so much because of my requirement to have fucking health insurance. Like, I don't get sick. Like, my children have been born. One's 3. He has not even had a cold. Like, no green boogers. He's 3 years old. What the fuck do? I don't feed my kids bullshit. I don't give them fish tacos and shit out of the fucking freezer. We make shit fresh out of this motherfucking home for the most part. Or we order out whatever but we ain't buying no motherfucking pizza rolls and nuking them motherfuckers every goddamn night. Like, the hell no. I'm from the South. You don't understand how this is. You know we ain't going for that down there, man. Somebody better be able to make some beans, rice, and some form of meat. Dang, but like, but that's what I feel like happened. Like, I feel like because every time somebody took something too far, like my friend had this little saying down south: "It's not a crime unless you get caught." Because so many stupid people did so many stupid crimes. The conservative Republican came about with their, just being strict on things. Somebody had to roll in the idea of like just being an absolute liberal in the sense of there's no government involvement. Yes, that's essentially what our country was founded on, which is less government involvement, no taxes without representation. Essentially, we are liberal. We don't want to be told what the fuck to do. So we're essentially a moderate Republican. But the issue is liberals take that shit so fucking far. And like y'all said, like Democrats have hijacked the liberal term just like Republicans hijacked conservatism. Each side chose one, and they're sticking to their guns. Then we had the Grand Old Party come back again because we lost. They lose, and they're like, "Fuck this! Hell no! Y'all let a nigga in office? Y'all really trust this shit to happen?" Like, I know he talk better than everybody else, but for real. So now we got the GOP come back. We got McConnell, and they like, "Fuck this! We gonna give this man as many problems as we can." He at that time when this was going on, I didn't understand the complexities of what was really happening. I had an old black lady tell me, she said, "We don't need a black president. We're not ready for a black president. I hope we don't get a black president." Me finally transitioning to true adulthood, multiple kids, have a career, trying to make something of my life and not live like a bum. I understand, like, a lot of these men's policies were not beneficial, and of all fucking things, you won by a swing vote. If you pay attention to how he won that election, those counties that he was picking off one by one is literally the same tactic Trump used to win his election. Same fucking tactic. And literally, if you look at it, like,
go. Senior Mario said.
Why was he able to do that? Why was Trump able to do that?
Tell us why.
People were so disgusted with the Obama administration. So many white people. I had a white guy tell me, he's a liberal guy, right? Went to St. Thomas University in Minnesota. He used to work behind me. He was settling because he lost his job in pharmaceuticals. He's an irate, weird, psycho motherfucker, let me tell you. He argued with me multiple times about why I would not vote for Hillary if I did vote. I told him I'm not going to vote for fucking anyway. He say, "Why won't you vote for Hillary? Trump's a racist." I'm like, based on what? I'm an entrepreneur. Everything he's saying is appeasing to what the fuck I want to hear. Less taxes. Fuck this shit. Like, I don't want to be required to have health insurance if I open up a business. That's bullshit. Like, I'm barely making ends meet. I've invested all of my money, all of my life savings into this business, put my house down as fucking capital. And you telling me I got to give these niggas health insurance in a state that I got to also pay state tax for too? Come on, bro. That's bullshit. It's straight bullshit. So it basically came down to, like, he said that he was so disappointed in how his vote went with Obama both terms that he's definitely, like, on the fence about who to vote for next. Like, some of these white people literally was just doing the reparation thing backwards. Like, it was reverse psychology. They were trying to pull the whole "I'm not racist because I have a colored TV" shit. That's what that was. They wanted to be able in a conversation with a black guy that made a lot of money to be able to say, "I voted for the black president." Fuck that shit. That's what happened. With that happening, Trump comes in, everything opposite. Like now, these prejudice thoughts start coming out, and Trump is appeasing to them. Trump's appeasing to all of these prejudice thoughts that's coming out because of the Obama administration. A lot of white people were not happy with how much money they were making in states like Minnesota, where you have to pay not only federal, but now you have to be required to have insurance unless you're going to get a tax at the end of the year. So a lot of people's upset. So I feel like that's why you don't talk about politics. If you're going to be honest, are you going to be able to say, no, I did not vote Democrat this year. I vote Trump. Fuck this shit. I'm done. Like, that's how he won. Like, yes, he won by electoral college because some people understand one thing. You vote on every level. You don't just go vote. Yes, Hillary won the popular vote because some white people understood I don't need to vote for the fucking president. I voted on the state level all the way down to my local community to make sure the constituents make sure that shit goes all the way bottom to top the way I want the vote to go because that's how people vote. The electoral college is based on their constituents. These people that think they was going to win because they had the popular vote weren't going to win because the constituents weren't there.
So, Soder.
Yeah.
So, at once upon a time, those of you guys in the chat, Soder talked me into getting involved in our local Republican Party.
It was a fun time. It was so sad when you left.
He said it would be fun, and I had to step away for various reasons. But one of those reasons was that I realized that Senor Mario, Kyle, you guys are this is our future, right? This is the face. Kyle, you are the face of the new conservative party. Senor Mario, you are the face of the new conservative party. It is up to us to change people's vision of conservatism, especially those people in our communities, for people who, not like you, Senor Mario, because you are a pale Hispanic now.
He's a white Hispanic from how I understand it works.
Yes, that's how it is.
But this is the situation we find ourselves in, because I'm being told that I'm a sellout because I have chosen to think for myself.
Man, I done been called Coons, Uncle Tom.
I've been called some of the most racist things I've ever been called by the people who supposedly who look like me, right? I've been called an Uncle Tom. I've been called a coon. I've been called a clown. I mean, I've been called all sorts of things. And you follow me, Kyle. You see some of the things that people, which I don't really care. My grandmother told me it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to. That's the important part, right? So I really don't care about those types of things. But I also am not buying 100% into the Republican platform and the talking points that say, oh, that there's no such thing as racism today. Bullshit. There is racism today. There's still racist people in the United States, and there always will be. The idea that we're going to legislate racism out of the equation is stupid. As long as man still has a sin nature, there will still be racism no matter what. And racism has always existed, and it will always exist.
Always exist, yeah.
The problem that I have is that the Democrat Party has learned that as long as fear is a great motivator, is a fantastic motivator. And as long as you can make people fear something, you can control them. As long as people fear racism, as long as they fear white people, as long as they fear losing their health insurance, as long as they fear their families going without, they will continue to vote against their own self-interest. In the spirit of this show, in the spirit of the Underground Railroad stream that we are now currently putting out there, there were people who had the choice and had the chance to take the Underground Railroad to freedom. But because of fear of not being able to support themselves and fear of not knowing what to do once they reached the North, They chose to remain slaves. Get what I just said. There were literally black people who chose to remain in slavery because they were afraid of what would happen once an illiterate, uneducated black person reached the North. How would they feed their family? How would they feed themselves? So people chose to remain in slavery. And now we talked about Soder, we talked about what would be the Fort Sumter of our generation. What would cause people to the Great Awakening? I would say that Kyle is a representative of today's conservative party. He is a representative of free thinking individuals. I would say that Senior Mario is the same way. I would say that we have seen what the behind the curtain. We've seen what the modern day Democratic Party has offered us. And we realize there's people that have been voting and living this way. The most powerful thing that we have is our vote. People died for it. People have been giving their vote over to this Democrat Party for decades, and nothing's changed. And the thing that Trump said,
just the Democratic Party.
but hold on, the thing that Trump said that destroyed the Democrat Party was, "What do you have to lose?" He said, "What do you have to lose?"
You have to lose at this point. And now, based on statistics, though, statistics alone will support it. So I really, truly believe he's not campaigning right now, guys. He's not even attempting to campaign because he knows the logical side of America is going to be what's going to vote him in. He knows when you go down that stat line, when you go to whitehouse.org and you see what he's done, and you see the unemployment rate in the black community, and you see that 42+% of black households have entered the middle class. Because like my white friend said, it's not a race war really anymore. It's like racism is there. It's an undertone for weak-minded people, though. It's just something like people that's really trying to get foreign life, they understand it's not about race, it's about class. What level of class of lifestyle are you living? That's why everybody's taking these trips to Cabo for $149. That's why the flights to Vegas, because they're selling a lifestyle now. They're selling that you can be like Kim Kardashian for less. You know, and that's what the Democrats sell. You know, we can give you Section 8, Housing 52. We can give you SNAP benefits. You know, it's going to be for something a little bit less, though. You know, it's going to be a little bit less than what you need. Like, if you're on food stamp, you can't make more than $1,300 or so dollars a month on your household size. You know what I'm saying? And if you're on Section 52, household income can't exceed $32,000 based on how many people will be living there. So that's how they're capping people right now. That's how they're capping the black community. And that's how they're capping a lot of Hispanic communities as well. Now, what I like about the Hispanic community is this. I used to stay across the street from this house in Lake Jackson, Florida. It's a little housing community called Lake Jackson. And the house behind my grandparents' house is still there. I swear to God, it'll be about 8 different families of Hispanics, and they'll all move out one at a fucking time, bro. You hear me? Like, if the black community really want to get the fuck up and get out there and get something, bro, we have to learn to stop being so fucking prideful. And that's all it boils down to. There's nothing else keeping us from getting to where we want to be. People call me and you people like us Uncle Toms because we don't have this pride in our mind where we think it's just acceptable to just pull the race card. Like, you don't honestly look back in your life and make it.
Hold on, Senior Mario, what was that?
Don't lose your pride. Don't lose your pride.
Oh no, I have the
people.
Pride. Oh, sir, no,
always
no.
Have to have that.
I have never. I don't have. That's why I hold such a high fucking standard for anybody whose skin is as dark as mine because of that pride. Like I know, like I feel like people miss. Like I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious. I am very spiritual in the sense that I do. Like I know Bible is basic instructions before leaving Earth, and that's as far as it fucking goes. But nobody fucking knows. We have dialogue from the Epic of Gilgamesh dating back to 10,000 BC. They're trying to tell me the Bible was written in 4,000 BC. How the fuck in the beginning started in 4,000 BC? That makes no fucking sense. Like, simply, it makes no sense. Like, mathematically, it makes no sense.
We'll have you on. We'll have you on a show in a couple weeks, and I will get you straight on that situation, Kyle. Don't worry about it. I'll get you.
Get me straight on that situation.
I'll get you. I'll get you correct on that situation. Don't worry about it.
At the end of the day, I have taken the Bible. I do understand what Hebrew is really talking about, how they breaking that down. I'm studious by all means. Like, I finally took my grandparents and my auntie advice, and I picked up a goddamn book. You hear me? But with that being said, I also have this viewpoint, like, the fact that we can actually think we can quantify God into a book of about 1,300 pages is laughable. It's hubris.
Yeah.
It's even worse. They quantify Allah into about 390 to 400 pages. Literally the same dialogue, misplaced in different areas, but condensed to the point where you actually get no insight or context as to what you're reading. Now, by all means, I got my own theories on how that went about and what was really going on, based on how there was gaps in times and it's just things don't add up. And I'm all about connecting the dots. Like, really should have been a police officer and became a detective or some shit. But it doesn't make sense. The timelines don't make sense. Like, then you got to think about even the timeline for the whole transatlantic slave movement shit. Things add up if you pay attention. If you look in the beginning of your Bible and when you see when it was first edited, actually edited, that means it was made for distribution. It was only so many odd years prior to them doing their thing in 1776, you know? Like, and if you, it's like, I think people forget there's dimensions to our lives, and like that spiritual dimension, like, we are the children of Israel, Hispanics, they fall into the categories. You can literally depict where the 12 tribes are. Y'all can look it up. The 12 tribes of Israel, they will show you each country representation of those people.
Well, like, that gets more. That hold on, real quick. I think that we would, Senor Mario. I think that you would probably argue with that, since you are a historian. You would probably argue with that, would you not?
Well, first of all, there's 13 tribes. Oh, yeah.
Something new. You know, not everything is in the Bible. That's why I say it's basic.
Okay, hold on. Let's see Mario go. All right, let's.
I want to hear this.
They don't talk about the 13th tribe because they don't know what the hell happened to it.
Okay, go ahead, Senor Mario.
But no, yeah, seriously. Now,
educate us.
What you guys got to do is you guys got to come up to Alaska, where we actually have some freedom still.
Well, I grew up there, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's how I got to know your son. That's how we got to be friends. So
okay. Oh, I didn't know you had grown up here,
sir.
Never mind, then. Where are you now?
I'm in Minnesota now.
Okay, I'm just curious. That's the state I have not been to. Yeah, really.
What was that from?
I have a granddaughter who happens to be black, who is in Minnesota.
Okay.
And she just had a kid here a few months ago. My oldest daughter's daughter.
Okay.
But I laugh because her and her older sister, and who's in South Carolina, we talk back and forth, and the older sister just, Grandpa, of course I haven't forgotten I'm half Spanish. I said, oh, you're not black anymore? When she was 16, I raised her from the time, my wife and I raised her from the time she was 16, and she always used to say, oh, I'm black. And I used to say, I'm Spanish. So the other day she reminded me she was half Spanish.
So the one thing most people that I talk to are that when it comes to black people, she's only half. when it comes to white people, she's 100%.
No, it don't work that way.
Black, a drop of black is 100% black.
No, it don't work that way.
I think it was according to where did I hear it? D'Souza in his one of his documentaries. He said not even the Nazis thought a drop of blood was too extreme.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did. Oh, I laughed at that one. So you used to live in Fairbanks? Just out of curiosity?
Yes, sir. So I'm originally from Texas. I was born there. Spent the majority of my childhood in Fairbanks. North Pole.
Where I am.
And so Fairbanks, and then moved back to Texas to go to college, and spent the early part of my adult years in Texas. And then I married a girl who was actually childhood friends of your daughter-in-law. So
My daughter-in-law. Oh, Heidi?
I wasn't going to say her
Stephen's
name on
okay.
air, but
okay. Because
Yeah.
one of my daughters has lived in Texas also.
Okay.
And come back here a few times.
Yeah.
But I've got other kids older than Stephen, and I was wondering if you know Stephen from up here, do you know my other kids too?
It's very possible I do. It's very possible I do. I'm not positive about that. But Stevens told me, after I had my father, who's an immigrant, on the show, he said, you have to get my dad on here. He would be a fantastic guest. And I have to say that you have been a fantastic guest. It's been fascinating. No, it has. It has been fascinating to kind of hear your discussion. I would love to discuss further with you this idea of communism. I mean, because we're being sold socialism, but socialism is simply the road to communism, right? I mean, it's the first step towards communism. But tell me this: historically speaking, where have you seen communism actually work on a grand scale?
You ready for my answer?
Yes. Give me your answer.
No place.
Well, okay. So what about places like Scandinavia, places like Norway?
You said communism. You didn't say socialism.
Okay.
Socialism has worked in a couple of countries, and I hate to say it this way, but it's worked where Americans have minimum impact.
So what is it about American impact that changes things?
Well, my wife, so you're gonna have to get her on the radio, on the show sometime. No,
capitalism, maybe.
I think that whether it's communism or Americanism or freedom, whatever you want to call us, okay, socialism is not impacted by either one of those. Socialism can work. There are many countries where socialism is working, and if you actually look, they have very little communist input, and they have very little American free capital input, and yet they are capitalist societies too. By the way, you go look at them.
But wouldn't socialism be the and I actually would like to hear from your wife to kind of separate, put those in separate boxes, because when I think socialism, okay, in my very, very limited understanding of what socialism is, the biggest issue with socialism is typically it is the whoa.
Oh,
I'm not sure what that is.
I think that's Kyle doing something in the kitchen.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I haven't ate today.
Okay, typically it's the nationalization and the government control of industry, right? And means of production. Which sounds extremely like communism to me. And so on a grand scale of 300 million people, I have to wonder, how would that work in America? And
My wife is sitting here insisting that she has to answer that question.
oh, thank
Please.
you so much. Please answer that question.
Let me take this for you.
Okay.
When you take a look at the society, the degree of what I call homogeneity is critical. So
Okay.
when you look at Sweden, they are preponderantly Swedish. Okay. They
Okay.
have shared ancestry. If you go out to another area where socialism is really well practiced, the tribes in Alaska, okay?
Sure.
Native tribes. They are all cousins. It's homogeneous. There is very little differences amongst people in their beliefs, in culture. So it's very easy to use government to find an agreement.
Sure.
As you expand the homogeneity of a society, it becomes increasingly difficult for government to play that role of a owner and resource director, because you have too many cultural
Social
norms that are being infringed upon, and liberty works for everybody. Okay.
Sure.
Whereas if you take a look, if you want to have government control of electrical production, and you try to get a Muslim and a Jewish community to work on it, you're just going to end up with a jihad mess. That's not going to work, you know. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. It's just that's reality. They'll get off.
We specialize in rude here, so don't worry about that.
They'll get off the rails of electrical production, and they'll be all into their, their ancient hatreds. And
Sure.
so it'll be very difficult for any kind of agency to work that is with those two very different groups.
Sure.
So the reason why the U.S. works so well is that there's this idea of individualism. And individualism works for everyone. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation, whatever, okay? Whereas when you have a society that is more homogeneous, like Swedish, Chinese, or where there's a lot of cultural similarities, you tend to find a lot more agreement on things that you and I would not even think about arguing about. Okay.
So would you argue that societies that are more homogeneous are actually better societies?
No, I just think that socialism, if socialism is going to work, it's going to work in those smaller homogeneous communities far more effectively than it will be on a large society or in a heterogeneous society. So if we want to be the great melting pot, socialism is not the way to go, because ultimately somebody's culture is going to dominate somebody else's culture.
Wow.
And it will not be pretty.
Yeah,
That makes a whole lot of sense. Like it's like, yeah, it's crazy.
Unfortunately, she does make sense.
Senor Mario, I don't see you winning a lot of arguments with that lady. She's brilliant.
Are you kidding me? I've been married to her for 28 years. Okay.
So you've had a lot of practice in losing.
Yes. I will admit to it. Yes.
Well, tell Dr. B, thank you so much for that. That was a fantastic explanation. Because I hear the Bernie Sanders of the world that immediately, like Norway, it's worked properly in Norway, but it's hard to really explain why a system that works in Norway won't work here in the United States, and
But
why.
Let me add one thing to it. Let me add one more.
Way.
Start. You were muted.
Even as similar as those people are, it still doesn't work.
So, and this is the thing too. Like, if you look at it from just where we're at economically, right? As from a poverty level, right here in America, if you try to go about it and say, okay, we're going to balance the budget and we're going to put everybody on this socialistic kick, right? How much money would it take to take all of those people out of poverty to put us on the same playing field? Like, how much debt would we accrue? How much debt would we accrue just to try to attempt that? Like welfare, like the welfare system right now is like he's trying to cut back the rates, and I kind of don't blame him. Like, I completely understand the necessity for Section 8, Housing 52, things like that. But at what point in time do we stop allowing the government to completely pay for people that are able-bodied working, but choose to work and not achieve their full potential for the sake of having those state assistance that allows them to have a more disposable income?
There you go.
Who's that?
Wow.
The kitty? Oh, who's that?
No. Is Dr. B still on?
She's behind me. She can hear you.
Okay, she can hear us. Okay, well, thank you so much. Real quick, I'm so sorry. There's been so much cross chatter going on that I feel Miss Diet Soda.
Yeah.
Okay, what was what, you were getting ready to interject? What was that?
I'm sorry. I was I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay. No worry. You came in right at the end.
I was going to say something about the like Sweden and Norway and Finland. They're not really socialist countries. I know Mr. Bernie likes to call them that, but they're more like a what do you call it? Yeah, she's right. A compassionate capitalism.
Democratic Socialist Society.
Not democratic socialist, but yes.
Capitalist.
They're capitalists, but
well, as an economist, Dr. B, what would you describe those economies as? Because they're not fully socialist, right? I mean, in recent years, Sweden has turned over means of production more and more to the private sector.
They had to because they've imported so many Muslims.
Okay.
Which is a very different culture. If you're going to diversify your culture, you have to diversify how you produce.
Sure.
You know, I go through this argument all the time in Alaska. People take a look at Sweden or Norway's gas production and say, well, the government owns X amount, we should do the same. And I'm like, no. For starters, you have a very homogeneous society. Second, anytime you have government ownership, you are back in a mercantilist system. That is neither communism or socialism. That's much more closer to what the monarchs had. Where they used to give you a royal charter and the government would give you permission to go do something. That's mercantilism. That's not even capitalism or socialism.
So let me ask you this. So could I ask you this? So what would be your greatest argument? Because capitalism is under attack. I mean, this latest generation coming through college now, man, they are very much against. I mean, capitalism is a dirty word now. What would be your greatest argument for capitalism?
Well, I can tell you when I became a capitalist. This is when I got my first paycheck, and I looked at this box called FICA.
What? Man, who are they? Who are they?
I wanted to eat at his house. I want to know why he's getting all my money.
Man, bro, what's up, bro? Hey, fam, holla at me.
All right.
Hey, Minnesota got their own tax. Like, why you get my money too, bro? Florida doesn't do that. Why you get my money?
Yeah, amen. Once you meet Mr. FICA, you become, it's usually when I say, well, welcome to the Republican Party.
Man, what? Hey, all you want to do is make big boy dollars at that point. Like, fuck this shit. Can I get my tax break now, please? How many figures do I need? Please, bro. At least vote somebody in that's talking about lowering taxes. Can we get somebody that's willing to lower? Because I feel like the lowering of taxes will never happen. Like right now, they're like, okay, we got to protect our tax break. Like, fuck this shit. These motherfuckers is going out of control. raise everybody else shit, protect our shit, give us some more loopholes, whatever the fuck we need to do. But that's what I keep trying to tell people. Like, do you have no aspiration to do more than what you're doing now? Like, everybody keeps making.
No. With that being said, you brought up a great point. Something that I for comedic relief, I like to watch the Democratic debates, right? And one of the things that they brought up, Dr. B, is they said that
not
this.
Here anymore. She went out to smoke a cigarette.
Okay. One of the things that they brought up is that the economy is working for the 1% or the 10%.
Bullshit.
But it's not working. That those of us that are in the middle class are not seeing the benefits of the Trump economy.
How do you feel about
it? I see the benefits of the Trump economy. I see the benefits of. I mean, let's be very clear. Those people who work, I don't because I own my own business. I don't have a 401k that is sponsored by that is matched by my employer. But I mean, just because you are not a millionaire doesn't mean you can't invest in the stock market. The stock market is up. The Dow Jones is up. The NASDAQ is up, historically up. Just because people choose not to invest, and just because people choose not to take part in the stock market doesn't mean that it's something that is not available to them. It's just they've chose not to, or it means that they haven't been properly educated, which I get very angry and upset, Senor Mario, when I hear the Democrat Party talk about we have to invest more in education. We're investing as much as any other country, if not more, in our education system.
Yeah, they don't.
But this idea that we could get better teachers, we just have to pay them more. Well, that's unfair to think. That Go ahead.
I hate to say this because my wife is a retired professor.
Sure.
So we need to take 3/4 of the professors that we have in this country, take them outside, line them up, and go bang, bang.
Oh my goodness.
Full of caca. Full of caca, huh?
Why is that, Senor Mario?
Because most of them are full of shit. They don't know what.
See, I knew that was full of caca.
I told you. No.
I knew it. That's absolute. I got lucky. So this is why I haven't got my education.
Seriously, think about it.
That's not really fair. That's not really fair.
No.
You are educated. This is why you haven't gotten your diploma, your degree.
Your diploma. Yeah, I had a teacher when I was going to school. So I went to STI, then I went to USD. Then I was like, fuck it. I'm going to just go back to STI because they came up with an entrepreneur program. And I was in my Foundations of Business class, and this is what prompted me to move to Minnesota. And he was like, bro, it's like, he didn't say, bro, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, essentially, you one of those few people that don't need it. So I took what he said and I just thought about it. Like, I kind of have made a decent little run at things, but I didn't sell my books back to school. I didn't do that bullshit. Fuck the money. I kept all of my books from that semester of when I was going to school, and I've utilized them books in a way where it's kind of put me a little bit ahead of the curve in the sense, like, I've been able to apply for jobs and be able to talk intellectually about certain topics on business to where I've gotten doors open for me that otherwise wouldn't be open without a degree. So I'm still going to finish what I start for the sake of my kid. I just want to teach him you're supposed to finish what you start. But that whole, like, I really do feel like we've lost touch with the whole point of going to college now. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
Like, right now, it's like, I don't know. Me, this time going, huh?
No, I was curious what Senor Mario's, because obviously you're a very educated man. Your wife is a very educated woman. Would you agree with that?
Yes, unfortunately, I would.
Is it because of passion, Senor? Is it like, have we lost the passion for education? Is it that we no longer like I'm assuming that you and your spouse went to school for something that y'all both were passionate about.
Well, I'll tell you what. My wife graduated from Notre Dame University. I graduated from Yale University, halfway across the country, further east. All right. I got my master's. I'm an electrical engineer. She got her PhD, and that's what she does. I have heard her tell people how to make money. I have seen students of hers here in Fairbanks, Alaska, put what she told them, what I heard her tell them, into play. And there's at least 5 of them that I can think of off the top of my head without even thinking hard, because I've become friends with them over the years. That 25 years ago, they listened. As little as 25 years ago, they listened. And now they are rich. By anybody's standard, they are financially well off. At least 5. So she can tell you how to make money. Okay, she can tell you how to make money hand over fist. But
well, it sounds like we need to get her on the show, and so she can teach the stream how to how to become wealthy.
It's economics. Okay,
Sure.
I had to laugh. You guys are gonna laugh when I tell you this. 28 years ago, she found out that I was playing with the stock market when we got together. She told me if she ever caught me playing around with the stock market, it would be the last time she ever saw me.
Damn.
And I'll tell you what, guys.
What kind of economist is she?
No. He what's his name? The other guy. What's his name? The other guy that's on there that was just talking a minute ago.
Kyle.
Kyle said, yeah, Kyle. Kyle said it. He was not educated about something. I am not educated about the stock market. I grew up in New York City. I grew up with people that were playing the market, adults who were playing the market. I grew up around them, but I didn't know squat about it. All I knew is you threw money in, you took this guy's advice, and you prayed that he was right. Now, as opposed to my wife, who knows about the market, because guess what? And you're gonna laugh at this. You know what her undergrad or what her PhD doctorate was?
What was that?
Beer. As
beer?
Beer, as in what we drink. Okay.
There's another kind of beer?
Well, I just wanted to make sure it was said that you could hear what I was saying. Beer, yes.
Wow.
That was her graduate program.
So she's a doctor of beer.
No, she's a doctor of economics.
Her thesis was on beer.
She used the
beer as her thesis.
She used the beer industry to do her thesis.
Okay.
Okay.
It was an industry with good data. I was doing a mathematical simulation with Monte Carlo technique.
Dang. Okay.
Okay.
Taxes and agricultural support expenditure.
Okay, hey, that's her tutor, her home.
Actually, wait, hold on. It sounded much less nerdy when Senor Mario said it.
Yeah, because that's Lord.
I understood a thesis on beer, but what you just said,
it made no sense.
That was a little too brainy for me.
It was
man,
too brainy for me too, man.
No, but and that's what.
Let me talk about mathematics and electronics, and I'm happy. I'm lost.
That's fantastic.
No, that's
so. I actually started school at University of Alaska Fairbanks in petrochemical engineering before going to Texas. So you and I could have a slight geek session. I'm sure at a later time. Stephen Powell says that Dr. B is actually short for Dr. Beer.
Is he on listening?
No, he's just putting in messages in the chat. So
okay.
Yeah. So well, I tell you what, guys, we have to do a part 2 to this. So but neither one of you guys are really familiar with what we're doing here. But the purpose of this show, actually, I can't take credit for it. It was Soder, who really we had talked about it. It was one of those things we said, we really should try to do a
No. I was
show.
like, you'd be great. And you're like, yeah, I think I could do a show. And then you didn't do anything. And I was like, dude, I'll help you. I'll help you get it launched. Because it's the only way it's happening. It'll be my reparations.
That's a good friend right there.
Yeah, he said that's his reparation. So, but
I'm telling you what.
nearly a year later, we're still here. The show is going well. We've grown. We have fantastic following, some great people. I've met a few of them. I look forward to meeting more of them. But the whole purpose was I started off with a very, very limited scope, and it was to educate other Black people on the fallacies of the Democratic Plantation and the Democratic Party, and to try to help them to not throw away their vote, and not throw away and not vote against their own self-interest, to educate themselves. But then I realized that, it wasn't just Black people, it was Americans in general who were buying into what they were being told in the media. And you hit on that, Senior Mario, talking about how powerful this media machine is, and how we've been duped into buying it, because we become intellectually anemic, right? Rather than doing the research for ourselves and studying for ourselves, we just, hey, I heard this on Fox, I heard this on MSNBC, so it must be true. Those are vetted sources, and that's not the case. That in fact, that's the exact opposite. Okay, and so we're being indoctrinated. Some people are. And so the purpose of this show is really to get people on, not necessarily to agree with me, not because you heard the exchange between myself and your son. I talk to a lot of people I don't necessarily agree with, but I love the idea that we can have discussions. We can start with what we agree with, and we can work our way into a respectful dialogue as to what we don't agree with. And many times we realize, we believe in some of the same things. We just have a different idea of how to get there, which doesn't make either one necessarily wrong, right? But what is so sickening is that we've digressed to the place to where if I don't agree with you, I'll cancel you. I'll never speak to you again. I'll defriend you. We won't have any more conversation. I've lost a lot of long-term friends, right? Because people just, like you said, Kyle, they get emotional. And so I really value you guys coming on the show. I value you guys being willing to have a discussion with us on your viewpoints. Kyle, you are a treasure, man.
Yes,
you are. You're not polished. And I love that. I love the fact that you just let it fly, right? You call it what it is, right?
I mean, I used to hold things in a lot when I was younger. And I talked to a psychologist, and they say that was gonna be my biggest issue in life. If I kept the shit bottled in, it was gonna be negative results in the end.
Well, so you took that to heart.
Man, what? Took it absolutely to heart.
Kyle, you don't even look like you're old enough to smoke cigarettes. What do you mean when you were younger?
man, you'll be surprised. I'm 31 years old. So it's really just that whole black don't crack shit going in the thing at this point. Then it's I help myself. I started buying meat from the butchers. I don't buy store meat. I don't go to grocery stores to buy meat anymore. If I can't get that shit out of the butcher, slice that shit, dice that shit, I'll pay the extra money for some good meat, because it's it's just yes, okay, meat can be bad for you. If you buy meat, they just slicing the motherfucker and just letting that motherfucker die, trimming and shit. There's a humane way to do things. I don't want no chicken that neck was just wrung around until it finally broke off. That motherfucker probably died in some form of trauma. Slice that neck off cleanly, like a good old fashioned butcher would do, and let the shit be that. It's just American. My friend got this term for a lot of Americans growing up in these new generations, right? He call them microwave. And some even adults have adopted it that should be in their like 50s and 60s have adopted the microwave mentality where it's that instant gratification right now, right now, right now. That's the only way we will remotely get into a situation where our country actually goes democratic social. Only way is if a majority of the population goes into the whole instant gratification thing. Well, guess what? Luckily for us, the majority of Americans are Caucasian. They are in the middle class, and they have a long line of history of families that work hard to get to where they are. And those lessons and that legacy is rained down. Like typically, like you could talk to 2 out of every 4 or 5 white people, and they'll be able to tell you I'm German and Irish, or they'll be able to tell you like I'm Mediterranean and I got a little bit of Bosnian or something. You know what I'm saying? Where us, we still trying to figure out what part of Africa were we taken from first.
I'm half African and half black.
Which means nothing. Like, because it's like, even like, so this is my thing. So even though we were taken from Africa, we can trace where our bloodlines are from to an extent. If you pay attention to history, when Augustus Constantine went into Israel, Jerusalem, he basically drove out those occupants at that time. Those occupants basically essentially did the same trek that Jesus did where Herod was looking for his ass, which is where the fuck did they go? They went to Africa. He went to Egypt, but, we went a little bit further into West Africa, which is how the transatlantic slave shit even fucking happened. Now, why were we why were we sold out? Why were we taken from our homeland? Because we are not actually from Africa. I really don't believe the blacks that were brought here during the transatlantic trade are not from Africa. That's why that whole Egyptology and all of that shit, it doesn't work from us because that's not our actual roots. That's why we were sold the fuck out. Now, in the process of fucking over God's people,
I think the historian on the stream would probably disagree with you. Would you not?
Yes, I would slightly disagree with him.
You would slightly?
Yep.
Point out the slight to me. I like slight. Slight's not bad. That means I'm not far off and I'm willing to learn.
And bear with me on this one. Show me where in the world, besides Africa, blacks come from.
So this is my thing.
Point.
It's not necessarily. It's
India.
So we're gonna have. Yeah, and that's that. Did you say Pangea?
I said India.
Oh, I thought you said Pangea. So, and that was going to be my position on that anyway. The only reason why we have different colors is because of the whole separation of Pangea. That's what it was called when all of the continents was connected, right? So with that being said, multiple times throughout history, we've migrated. Even Native Americans, I get in arguments with their asses all the fucking time because they just cannot accept the fact they look like fucking Mexicans. Bro, I did not know Native Americans fucking existed until I moved to South Dakota. Like, from what I've learned in Florida, we had Mexicans and, like, the Seminole Indians, but they're like a mixture of a bunch of runaway tribes, and they accepted slaves, so they're just like a whole clusterfuck of dysfunctionality. Basically, what modern day Seminole Indians to a modern day gypsy. That's essentially what the fuck they were in America. That's what they were. If you really want to give it a term, that's what they were. So, if we take this like,
we're gonna hold on real quick. No. I definitely want to have this conversation about Native Americans being the modern day gypsies. I would love to have that conversation with you, but hold on. I feel like Senior Mario was on a trail, and I don't want to distract from that. So go ahead.
I already got blown away laughing so hard.
I'm sorry, Senior.
No, don't be sorry. I am laughing so hard at what you said because so much of it, I can't find anything to call untrue. It's not me laughing, just laughing.
It's just so outlandish.
Oh my goodness! Don't encourage him, Senior Mario.
Don't encourage me.
I'm going to encourage you. can you drop the senor?
Who, me or me?
Mario? I tell your mama I said it was okay.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, guys, we're going to have to do a part 2, and
Yes.
I'll have to touch base with you guys. I think the stream has spoken. They want to hear from both of you guys again. And we need to hear more. I wanted to do an economic special. And I wanted to talk about how to make this economy work for you. And I think that did I get a buy-in? Did I get a buy-in from Dr. B to come and help us?
Yeah, you got to buy. She'll come and help you.
Okay, absolutely. That would be fantastic. Senior Mario, I got to ask you real quick. We're not going to get into it. Are you familiar with Black Wall Street?
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
hey, we go down that path, man. Ooh, Lord. it just oh man.
Okay, so this is Black History Month. So
it is. Oh my God, it is. It is. Oh, we talked about this last year.
So
I forgot about it.
And we talked about Black Wall Street. Would both of you guys be willing to come back on and have this discussion next week?
Oh, I love that discussion this week.
Barbara says she's not sure about next week.
Well, if she can't make it, I would love for you to try to make it. But let's discuss it off air. But hey, for those of you guys that are here, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate you guys taking the time to be in the stream. I know there was a lot of things pulling your way. You could have been anywhere else, but you are here with us. Thank you guys so much. I pray that you will
have a super chat, buddy.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead.
Super chat. Streamlabs.
Okay.
From our good buddy, the whale Osmodeus, for $10. Good guest tonight, Q. Make it a 5-hour stream. Oh gosh, I hope no, not yet.
We have to go to work tomorrow. That wouldn't really be so bad for Senior Mario. I'm sorry, for Mario. Being that he's in, that just felt weird. It just really felt weird to call you.
No, it don't feel right. Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
But it wouldn't be so bad. I mean, you guys are 3 hours behind us. But for those of you guys that are not 3 years, you guys are 3 years behind.
Oh man, I'd hate to be the guy trying to figure out that time zone.
Right. but thank you guys. For those of you guys that are not currently subscribed to the channel, please press the like buttons and also the subscribe button. I will work on these guys to try to set up something so that we can be back next week with them if at all possible, but we'll definitely have both of you guys back. There's so much more to discuss, but awesome having an opportunity to visit with both of you guys. We got Saron Jag. He says, in honor of Black History Month today, Walmart had a sale on 200 thread count white sheets. No joke.
What?
I'm gonna have to. I cannot confirm or deny that. I'm gonna have to look at it.
I just got it.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm not going to confirm or deny that. I will look into it and I will let you guys know what I come up with. But thank you guys. You guys have a great night. And as long as I don't get taken out by the coronavirus, I will be back next week and look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you guys so much. Don't hang up quite yet. We're going to come out of the stream, but I want to visit with both you and with Senior Mario real quick. So we're going to end the stream, but I'd like to visit with both you guys real quick. So thank you guys so much. Have a great night. We'll see you guys next Sunday.
Night.